Hi, this stack of cards was compiled to facilitate working through axons, physics and chemistry at work in the body. In this MCAT-style passage focused on action potentials and myelin sheaths. And more so than anything else, there was actually more biology and physics than there was chemistry. So this deck of cards is going to contain information on the nervous system structure at the microscopic level and the physics across these structures. All right, let's get to it. An A blank is a cytoplasm-filled outgrowth of a nerve cell that serves as the path for electric signals, or rather electrical signals. So that would be an axon. And if you don't know what that looks like, just quickly Google it and keep it moving. Many human axons are electrically insulated by M blank. So what are axons insulated by? That would be myelin, or more specifically myelin sheath. And again, if you don't know what that looks like, Google it, or I think I have a picture coming up in a later card. There are small gaps along the myelin sheath of axons called nodes of R blank. Nodes of what? That would be nodes of Ranvier. And if you look to your there you see a node of Ranvier. It's like a little space, a little gap. Here goes one, here goes another, and another. Okay, and these are the axons. Well, actually, no. This whole thing is an axon. And just circle that for you. Or highlight it. This whole thing right here is an axon. And, you can see surrounding it, coiling around the axon, is the myelin sheath. Okay, so those are things discussed in the two previous cards. Each node of Ranvier has I blank specific channels that allow, well, there's supposed to be an S right there. It's not allow, because it's supposed to be on the singular form of the verb. Let me just make that change. Allows. Sorry about that. Actually, no, it's ion channel, so allow is the plural form, my bad. That allow current to flow across the axon membrane. So each node of Ranvier has what? To allow ion flow. So each node of Ranvier has ion channels, which I've already highlighted for you. If you zoom in somehow on your screen, these little holes, which are really not holes, but they're inserted protein membranes, those are ion channels that are dispersed around the nodes of Ranvier. The electric currents through the ion channels of axons are determined by the electric P blank and ion concentration differences between the cytoplasm inside the cell and the surrounding I blank fluid. So fill in those two blanks. I'll give you a moment to think. And while you're thinking, as you can see for most of these cards, I totally break the rules of the implicit rules for index carding, which is that you're not supposed to put a bunch of information on each card. But according to the Bible, the memory of the righteous is blessed. So you're blessed, and I know you'll remember everything. And if you don't, just replay the video. It's not that difficult. All right, let's see the answer. So the first blank is supposed to be potential. I didn't actually write that down. I'm so sorry about that. Excuse the janky handwriting. So the first blank is potential, and the second is interstitial. So go back to the previous slide and fill in potential for the first blank and interstitial for the second, okay? As ions enter and exit the cytoplasm of an axon cell, they change the electric field within the axon, creating a new electric P blank. What do they create? They create a new electric potential, which is the same thing as voltage in physics. So this is the physics portion of this sac. And you know, electric potential voltage is like the potential amount of energy something has due to its position relative to another position. But it's a very like abstract concept, and I'm not sure that I even fully understand it. I just take it for what it is. And luckily for the MCAT, you don't need to have an in-depth, grasp of it. Just know that it exists across an axon membrane and across most cells, to be quite honest with you, across most cell membranes, because of the separation of charges. Whenever there's a separation of charge, when I say a separation of charge, I mean a difference in ion concentration on one side of the membrane and a difference on the other. That can be likened to a separation of charge in a dielectric in an actual electric circuit. If you don't know what a dielectric and separation of charge is, just Google it. Find a video or a photo somewhere so you can just visualize what it is. And just by seeing what it is or watching a quick video on it, you'll be able, that's all the knowledge you'll need for this level. Ion channels are a parallel or series circuit. So what's the correct fit? Are ion channels connected in parallel or series? And remember, series is if you consider ion channels resistors, series resistors, the zigzag is the resistor, are connected kind of like in a straight line. And what sucks about this is that if one resistor is jacked up, then the whole circuit won't work. I think that's how old Christmas tree lights are connected. Whereas parallel resistors branch off of something, some common connection point. And if one goes haywire, the others won't get affected. They don't have to look perfectly parallel, but they're not connected in series. Let's just put it that way. They're branched. Okay? So they're connected in parallel. If you think of the membrane as the common point, you can just kind of sort of think of the ion channels branching off of them. They're definitely not connected in series. So this is also a very hazy concept, but with enough exposure, you'll understand what's trying to be said when someone says, you know, ion channels are parallel circuit. Write the equation for resistors in parallel. So this is just good old physics, basic electric circuits. What's the equation, the resistance equation for a series circuit? That would be a sum of reciprocals. So 1 over R equivalent being the total resistance of the whole circuit, equals 1 over R1, 1 over R2, plus 1 over R3. You know, you have to add all these terms. You have to basically add the resistance for each resistor when you're dealing with parallel resistance. You have to add their reciprocals all the way up to R sub n. N being the total of number of resistors in the circuit. Okay? What is the structural formula for tetramethylammonium, TEA? And this is a toxin that inactivates potassium channels. So we have tetramethylammonium. And this might seem intimidating, but we know that ammonium is NH4. NH4 plus. So if you have a tetramethylammonium, it has to be similar to this somehow. So what is the structure for that? And you might have guessed it. Yeah, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4 methyls attached to a central nitrogen. And this is the structure for tetramethylammonium. I just wanted you to be exposed to that because seeing the chemical name might look a little intimidating, but if you break down the root words, you'll see that it's a very simple structure to deduce from the given name. All right, next, permeability to an ion species is directly or inversely proportional to the number of plasma membrane channels that are open. So is permeability to ions directly or inversely proportional to the amount of membrane channels open? And this one should be really easy to guess. That would be directly. So if a lot of them are open, permeability is going to increase. And if few channels are open, permeability decreases. The log base 10 of 10. So this is just basically asking what number do I need to raise 10 to in order to get 10? What's the exponent? If my base is 10, what does my exponent have to be in order to get the answer 10? And that's right. The answer is 1. And this log, you know, it's good to know how to work them because they do come up when you're dealing with ion species or a few other equations in chemistry and physics. So it's just good to know. Current flows into or out of the cytoplasm when ions move across the membrane. That would be into. So when ions flow across the plasma membrane, specifically an axon membrane, current is flowing into the membrane. Ions are charged particles, and current is by definition m blank of charge through space. Therefore, the flow of ions creates an electric current. That would be movement. What is the formula for electric power? P equals V squared over R. P equals V squared over R. V is electric potential and R is resistance.